We are looking at the day 2.5 notes and homework. For the notes, we're going to do number 3 together on this paper, and then the homework will be to finish it. So this exact paper. All right, so we're going to skip to, well, first of all, the directions say find the rate of change. All right, and when they say find the rate of change, they really mean find the average rate of change. All right, rate of change and average rate of change are the same thing. So you can put average rate of change there which you guys know is really just slope. All right, so that's all we're doing here, finding slope. So let's take a look at number 3. All right, in the notes yesterday, I showed you 2 different ways to do this. So again, I'll show you the 2 different ways. I'll do, the first method. And if you don't like that way, you can keep watching the video and try the second method, and maybe that'll be easier for you. All right, so again, our goal is to find slope. So I like to write the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, and we've got our 2 points. This is one of our points. We could call this x1, y1. And this is another point. This is x2, y2. All right, so all we got to do is plug that stuff into our formula. So we can go slowly. I'll try to use colors to make it easier. First thing is y2. That's going to be j of x plus h. Then our formula has a minus sign, so we got to subtract. We got to subtract our y1. Our y1 was just j of x. All right, all over. On the bottom, x2. Our x2 is x plus h. Minus, of course there's a minus in the formula, minus our x1. Our x1 was just an x. All right, and this happens the same way every time. All right, on the bottom, there's always going to be an x and a negative x. Those can just kind of disappear. All right, so let's start simplifying. I'm just going to work to the right. On the bottom, we're just left with this h. On the top is where it's a little bit harder. All right, where we have this function notation. This j of x plus h means we have to plug in x plus h into our j formula for both x's. So literally where both of these x's are, we're going to think we got to wipe those x's out and put in an x plus h in their spot. So we got x plus h squared minus 5 times x plus h. That's that first part. Then our formula, of course, has a minus sign in the middle. All right, and then we're subtracting j of x. This part I always like to put in parentheses or brackets. And again, they just use the name of the function j of x. We know what j of x equals. J of x is x squared minus 5x. All right, and the whole point in putting those brackets in is so that you remember to distribute the negative. You could do it in the next step. You could do it right away. A lot of times I like to do it right away. Just change this to a plus sign and change the signs inside. All right, just so you don't forget. All right, we need to keep simplifying. So if we keep going, we need to FOIL this part out, this x plus h squared. That just means we're taking x plus h and multiplying it by itself so we can expand it. The second part, we got to distribute this negative 5x minus 5h. And then the last part, we just got to bring down minus x squared plus 5x all over h. All right, now we have to FOIL this part out. So just like last time, all right, x times x is x squared. The outside terms get you xh. The inside terms get you hx. And the last terms, h times h, is h squared. And then bring everything down, minus 5x minus 5h minus x squared plus 5x all over h. All right, we have some like terms here, just like before. These two right here, they both have an x, they both have an h, so we can combine those together, add them together, and say we have 2 of them. So if we do that, we have x squared. If we add these together, Let's call it 2xh plus h squared minus 5x minus 5h minus x squared plus 5x all over h. Then I would start simplifying. There should be some things that cancel. I see x squared and negative x squared, those cancel. Negative 5x, positive 5x, those cancel. All right, and it looks like everything that's left over has an h in common. So all this stuff in the numerator, they all have an h. I would factor an h out. So on the next line, we take an h out on the top. Let's write what's left over. If we took an h out here, we'd be left with 2x plus h squared. If we take an h out there, we're left with 1h. All right, and if we take an h out here, we're left with minus 5, and it was all over h on the bottom. The whole point of that is we have an h on top and h on bottom. Your h's cancel, and that's your final answer, 2x plus h minus 5. All right. Hopefully you're thinking you're seeing some similarities to yesterday's problem. All these problems are going to be really, really similar. For the most part, you're always going to have to do an x plus h squared. So you're always going to have to FOIL it out, and you're always going to get the same answer. So feel free, if you do that over and over again and you kind of memorize that every time you FOIL it out, this is what it equals, feel free to just kind of memorize that and not show the work if you'd like to start skipping some steps. And once you multiply everything out, at this step, a bunch of stuff should cancel. That's how I kind of know I made a mistake. If things aren't canceling nicely, usually you made a mistake. So things should cancel. Then you should be able to cancel an h on top and bottom and then get your final answer. All right, so if it doesn't happen that way, that's usually a hint that you made a mistake and you should go back and see where you made that mistake. If this is still confusing, again, I will explain this in a different way. Feel free to keep watching this video if you'd like to see another way to do this problem. Another method I'm going to show you if you struggled with the first one. Again, the directions, on the first page were find the rate of change, which is average rate of change or just slope. All right, so, the end goal is going to be to find the slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But our 2 points that we were given, here's one, here's another. All right, they look complicated. We could kind of simplify those first and then plug them into the formula. So we're just kind of changing the order that we do it in. So our first point, x, comma, instead of this j of x, all right, that's the name of the function, we can plug in what it actually equals, x squared minus 5x. So x squared minus 5x, and that could be one of our points that we're going to use. So I'm just going to kind of put a box around that. We'll use that later in our slope formula. All right, our second point is going to be a little bit more complicated. All right, it's x plus h, comma, all of this, j of x plus h. So some things to think about. J of x plus h, we have j of x over here. If I can get my pen, we have j of x. All right, it means in the x's spots, wherever there's an x, we need to plug in an x plus h. So we need to kind of white these x's out and put an x plus h in parentheses in those spots. So it's going to be x plus h squared, still the square, minus 5 x plus h. That's our second point. We have some simplifying to do there. All right, so the first part, x plus h, is going to stay the same. All right, this x plus h squared, that we have to FOIL it out. So to do that, we're going to expand it, rewrite it as x plus h times x plus h, and then minus right here, we could distribute this. You get negative 5x minus 5h. All right, so we still need to FOIL this out. And again, we're going to keep FOILing that same quantity. So sooner or later, you're probably going to memorize what it is, and you could just write the answer down. If you haven't memorized it yet, you can actually think it through. But x times x is going to be x squared. The outside terms get you plus xh. The inside terms get you hx. And the last terms, h times h, is h squared. Got a little messy right there. I'm going to rewrite it. That was plus h squared. And then don't forget about the other terms. Rewrite them, that minus 5x minus 5h. All right, you want to simplify as much as possible here before moving on to actually finding the slope. So we got x squared. These two are like terms. We can add them together. They both have an x, they both have an h. So we could call it plus 2xh plus h squared. And of course, bring down the terms in red, minus 5x minus 5h. And I think that's as far as we can go. There's no more like terms, nothing else we can simplify. So I'm going to put a box around that. That's going to be basically our second point. So again, we have to find the slope. We got to use our slope formula, all right, which we have. We just need to plug this stuff in. So I'm going to start by labeling. This is our x1. This is our y1. All of this is y. This is x. This is going to be our x2. And this is going to be our y2. All right, and we got to plug it into this formula since it's going to be kind of long. I'm just going to bring it down here. All right, and we're going to start. First thing, we're going to plug in our y2. So all of this right here, that x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 5x minus 5h. Then we need our minus sign, which is in the formula. And now we need to subtract our y1. So our y1 is all of this right here. I will put that in parentheses. Anytime you're subtracting a quantity that has more than one term, put it in parentheses. Again, the parentheses, remember, remind you to distribute this negative. And you can do it right away, or you could do it in the next step. I would probably do it right now. All right, change it to a plus sign and change the signs inside, just so you don't have to worry about doing it later on. All right, moving on to the bottom. We've got x2. Our x2 is x plus h. Of course, we have a minus sign in our formula, minus, and then we got to subtract x1. Our x1 is our x. And then from here, it's really just our job to cancel anything and simplify. So of course, x and a negative x, those disappear. We're only going to have an h left on the bottom. On top, we got x squared and negative x squared, negative 5x and 5x, and we're left with 2xh plus h squared minus 5h. Again, it happens kind of the same way every time. A bunch of stuff cancels, and now everything has an h in common, so we can look at the terms in the numerator, right, and we can factor an h out there. So if we take an h out of all those things on the top, we're going to be left with 2x plus h minus 5, and it was all over h. And the whole point of that now is we can cancel the h on top and the h on bottom, and then we have our final answer, 2x plus h minus 5. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. Again, you can pick which method you like. Either way will work. And again, we will still get more practice with this. So if you're still feeling a little bit shaky, keep working at it. Hopefully it will get easier. Your homework is to finish this worksheet. We did number 3 together, so you have to do numbers 1, 2, and 4. If you have questions, please contact your teacher.